What's up, guys? This is Holland with the Wolverine.com, and we are back with another Tuesday Wolverine live show. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel for free, get notifications every time we drop new videos. And as always, you can participate in the recruiting discussion in the chat box. Ask me questions, and I will be here to answer them. So again, like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel for free, and also, if you want even more Michigan recruiting information, you can head over to the Wolverine.com today. Use the special promo code UM1. That's $1 for 2 months over at the Wolverine.com. Get exclusive insider information on everything Michigan recruiting coming out of these big visit weekends. This past one was a massive, massive weekend. We had insider intel on Jackson Canwell, interviews with Carter Meadows and Jake Kreul. We've got a ton coming from different NIL agents as well. The transfer portal should be starting up soon. Spring football is obviously here. Basketball is in the middle of a March Madness run. So now is the perfect time to subscribe to the Wolverine.com. Again, use that promo code UM1. That's $1 for 2 months. Okay. Remember, the questions will be answered in the order in which they came. If you want to skip the line, it looks like we already have a very long queue. If you want to skip the line, hit that box with the dollar symbol. That is a super chat that will allow you to skip the line, and also donate to my travel budget. So your super chat money goes to my travel budget so I can continue to see top Michigan recruits around the country. Obviously, I was just on the road a couple of weeks ago seeing 5-star quarterback Ryder Lyons. I posted some highlights here on our YouTube channel for you guys to see. So again, if you want to skip the line, use that super chat feature. It's the box with the dollar sign. If not, we will start with customer service, who is here at 2:46 p.m. and has asked a billion questions. So if you want to leapfrog customer service, man, it's going to be a little while. All right, customer service. He says, EJ, will you do a short docu-series behind the scenes of what you do? We'd love to see why you are the best in the game. That would be interesting. I mean, I'd be down to do it if you know somebody that will commission it. If you're a documentary maker, customer service, you can definitely do one on me if you'd like. Customer service, back with another question. And he says, will Michigan still go after Tristan Keys and snag another big-time commitment from LSU? It's certainly possible. I'm not sure if he's still going to make his April visit, considering he just committed to LSU, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does take some other visits. It's very early in the cycle. I'm sure schools will continue to have discussions with him about NIL, including Michigan. I mean, the Wolverines have, kind of changed up their approach a little bit this cycle. They are exploring maybe investing some of that NIL money in a top end wide receiver. We've seen them do it along the offensive line. We've seen them do it with Bryce Underwood. We've seen them do it in the portal at running back with Justice Haynes. So, maybe a little bit of a change in philosophy this cycle, exploring Tristan Keys, having some preliminary conversations with Chris Henry Jr., having Calvin Russell make a surprise visit. So, yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible. I think they should. I think they will. So it's just, we just have to wait and see. Long way to go till December. Customer service says, what is buzz like after the Jackson Cantwell visit? Did Michigan move up? I would say Michigan's in the top 3 right now. I think Oregon's up there. I think Miami's up there. Obviously, Georgia's still in play. Ohio State's still in play. I don't really care where Michigan ranks right now, whether it's 1 or 5. Really makes no difference to me. I think this one's all NIL. I think it's going to be a bidding war. I think the dollar amount is going to reach north of $1 million. He's hired an NIL agent already, and a very notable agent in Drew Rosenhaus. So, Rosenhaus has represented some of the top players in the NFL, and obviously the fact that he's representing Canwell means that he means business when it comes to NIL and getting him the best deal possible. So, I'm not sure if he's still regarded, but I mean, he was definitely regarded as a super agent when I was growing up and watching Terrell Owens and guys like that worked under him. So, I mean, I think that Cantwell's is going to come down to summer official visits when there's more NIL discussions and potentially further into the cycle closer to December. I don't think he's released an exact decision timeline, so that one could go all the way, close to signing day. And again, I just think it's going to come down to NIL. I mean, that's basically it. Customer service says if Michigan gets Ryder Lyons, who will be the 2026 Michigan quarterback targets? It's tough to say. I think 2026 quarterback recruiting is a really interesting storyline because if you get Ryder Lyons, he's still a 2027. He's not going to get to campus until the year 2027 because he is taking a mission as, a member of the LDS church. So, I mean, there are very few quarterback options out there right now. I mean, they've only offered Brady Smigel, who is trending towards Washington, and Matt Ponatoski, who is likely a high MLB draft pick and still hasn't set up a visit with Michigan. So outside of those two and Lyons, who again is technically a 2027, they might have to do some evaluations during the spring period. Like I did my mock class over at the Wolverine. So if you want to see my full 25 member mock class for this cycle, you can head over to thewolverine.com. Remember to use that promo code UM1. It's $1 for 2 months. But I had a really rough time picking a quarterback. There are other guys that are on the radar, like Oscar Rios, who we've talked about in the past. I think an option that makes a lot of sense, if you're just looking for a depth guy that can be a capable backup for Bryce over the years and potentially a capable starter very late in his career, could be Brody McWhorter, who is the cousin of offensive line commit Bear McWhorter. He definitely could be an option. He's a guy that already has a pre-existing relationship with Chip Lindsey. They could also go after a young guy in the portal, like if a freshman enters the portal, after this season, or, like a red shirt sophomore, somebody like that, knowing that Bryce Underwood's only going to be on campus for 3 years. I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see what they do with 2026 quarterback recruiting. A lot of options in 27, just not so much in 26. Customer service says, who is the recruit in 26 you have connected with the most? I think in 25, you said it was Shamari Earls. Yeah, it was definitely Shamari in 25. And 26, I'd probably go with Jazeel Hart. He's the guy that definitely comes to mind. Obviously, living here in Virginia, he's not too far away from me. Really magnetic kid, terrific personality, just kind of fits that Michigan mold. He's set to make an official visit to Michigan on June 20th, which is the big weekend, Victor's weekend. And, he's kind of ranked really low on the industry ranking, but On3 has him super high. I'm a big fan of Jazeel Hart. I think he's a really versatile defensive back, can do a lot of different things for you. I like him mostly as a nickel. And again, just great kid. I've really enjoyed getting to know him over the process. I think a lot of people would expect me to say Savion Hyder, and don't get me wrong, I love Savion, but he is very, very quiet. I think Jazeel is very energetic, just really, really fun to be around. Customer service says, which recruit, if they were to commit with to Michigan, would help boost Michigan's recruitment the most? That's a good question. It would be like who has the most clout, I guess. I'm not sure if there's a quarterback to really do it. Ryder Lyons would be a big land, obviously. And he does have a big social media presence. So, Ryder would definitely be up there, but not necessarily to the magnitude of like a Bryce Underwood. I think, Probably winning over Tristan Keys would just, show that Michigan obviously continues to mean business with NIL. It would be a massive flip from LSU, a big win in the South. Tristan's also a guy that plays a lot of club 7-on-7, so he knows a lot of different elite recruits. It would just be a statement, the Bryce Tristan connection, I think, is something you could really sell to others. Customer service says, Albert Hill or Jordan Thomas, who is Michigan more likely to get? Right now, Jordan Thomas, Albert Hill still hasn't set a spring date. I messaged with him a couple of weeks ago, maybe a little bit more than a week ago, and he still hadn't, set that. He was just at Ohio State the other day. I still think it's likely he ends up there or Oregon or something. But Jordan Thomas, I think there's still, definitely a realistic shot here. He moved up his visit from April 15th to this weekend, which we posted over at the Wolverine. He is going to be on campus from Friday through Sunday, and he's coming in with his agent, Latish Kinsler. So I think they'll have some good discussions, especially with Jordan Thomas set to make a decision at some point this spring. I'm really concerned with Texas A&M here just because they landed his teammate, Jermaine Kinsler, who works with the same agent. They have the same last name because Latish Kinsler, the agent, is Jermaine's uncle. So A&M's definitely a school of concern. There are a few others that are in contention still for Jordan, like Ohio State and Notre Dame and Texas. But I would be the most concerned with A&M right now. Going into this visit, though, I think Michigan's in a really strong spot. I think Jordan really kind of fits the Michigan mold. Really good kid. I've known him for multiple years. Great work ethic, great family. Just nothing but great things to say about Jordan Thomas. Also great student in the classroom. I think he has like a near perfect GPA, and that translates over to the field as well. Really smart player. We'll see how this weekend goes. I think that'll tell us a lot more. Customer service says, is there any news on Carter Scruggs? Nothing significant. He is set to come in this weekend, so we'll probably have more of an update on Carter after the weekend, but Michigan continues to be in that top group, and they're also set to get an OV. Customer service said, did Michigan improve their stock with Malakai Lee? Definitely. USC was considered the team that was trending on the On3 recruiting prediction machine. Steve Wiltfong put in a pick for the Trojans, and Lee came back to Ann Arbor, spent multiple days on campus. Not only that, he locked in an official visit for Victor's weekend. Michigan is set to get his final OV. USC set to get him on campus June 6th for an OV. So if Lee makes it out of the USC visit uncommitted and actually does make it to Ann Arbor for his OV, Michigan could very well win this recruitment. So very, very heated battle between Michigan and USC, but I think Michigan lost some momentum here in the winter and regained it back this weekend. So a very critical visit for Lee, but remains a very, very tight battle with USC. Customer service says, do you think Michigan would take Calvin Russell and Travis Johnson? Also, what are our chances with both wide receivers? Yes, absolute no-brainer. You would take both. I mean, both are big-bodied guys, but Michigan has been focused on adding more size to the room. They obviously need the talent and the depth, and I think Calvin Russell and Travis Johnson are better than last year's big body lands. As much as I liked Jamar Browder, who was my sleeper of this cycle, and Jacob Washington obviously had a lot of upside as well. Calvin Russell and Travis Johnson are better recruits. Calvin being, a top 50 guy nationally, and Travis Johnson, I think, is a borderline top 100 guy. So, I think Michigan's in play for both. I think they would definitely take both. With Calvin Russell, I think he's going to be a bit of a tough pull from, Florida, especially with his mom being a Miami grad. I think Miami's going to be tough, and the Hurricanes can offer NIL. With Travis, I think Michigan can win him over. I mean, I'm definitely concerned about Texas A&M. I'm concerned about Georgia. Penn State is still a big factor there, but I like where Michigan's trending with Travis. Customer service says, who do you think leads for Gregory Patrick's recruitment? I think that's definitely a recruitment that Michigan can win. Greg's a Michigan State legacy, so Michigan State has the lead on the on-3 RPM, but I don't think that really matters. I mean, could he end up at Michigan State? Sure. I mean, there's definitely family ties there, obviously, but I think Michigan has proven that Michigan State legacy status doesn't really mean much. They landed 2 Michigan State legacies last cycle along the offensive line in Caden Strayhorn and Avery Gash. So I definitely think that that Michigan can win that recruitment. I think that this April 5th visit, I believe, is when he's set to be back on campus, will be critical. And then he's set to also be back on June 20th, which is Victor's weekend. So Michigan getting him last. So yeah, I definitely could see him staying and spurning Michigan State for Michigan, just like Gash and Strayhorn did. Customer service says, do you think Matt Ludwig is going to commit anytime soon? There's no set decision time for Ludwig, but I think Michigan's the clear leader. I feel confident in my prediction coming out of the visit this weekend. He does have some other official visits set. He is locked in to come back to Michigan for an official visit on June 20th, which again is Victor's weekend. I don't know. Maybe he will shut things down sooner, which would obviously be good news for Michigan. Customer service says, is there any news on Leo Delaney? We need to keep that Providence Day pipeline going. Yeah, Michigan's still in that top group. You know, they're going to get an official visit. He's a guy that's always been high on Michigan. I think that right now, you know, there's some other schools that are high on his mind, especially closer to home, you know, like Clemson and North Carolina, South Carolina, but Michigan remains squarely in the mix there. Customer service says, with Michigan in it for so many elite offensive linemen, how many do you think we'll take? Using the EJ recruiting service rating, who would those ideally be? Who are they more realistically going to be? Probably around 5. I think, you know, last cycle, they obviously landed some really highly touted guys, but they want to continue to, you know, build that offensive line. They want to continue to invest. I think they can land Canwell. I think that they're willing to spend and they know what it's going to take to land Canwell. I could see them landing a mix, you know, in the interior. Obviously, they already have Bear McWhorter committed, but I could see them landing a mix of Gregory Patrick or Zayden Krempin or Leo Delaney. You know, all those guys are real possibilities there that are high priorities. I think, you know, I could see a swing guy that could play tackle or slide inside, like Marky Walbridge or Carter Scruggs. And then, you know, as far as true tackles go, like I said, Cantwell, and maybe you can get, you know, if you don't get Cantwell in that bidding war, you could get Malakai Lee. Customer service says, if Javian commits, that would be Javian Osborne. Will that boost Michigan's chances to get the dream combo with Savion? I don't think so. I don't really think Savion cares, to be honest. Like, I think that anybody could commit to Michigan at the running back position, and I don't think he'd really care. I mean, he's familiar with Javion, which is good. He has respect for Javion. They spent some time together at the Under Armour game in January, but Savion, you know, he carries a different type of attitude. I think Savion knows he's an alpha and he's the number 1 running back in the country for a reason. He carries himself like that, and not in a cocky way. He's extremely humble and just very quiet. I just think he has that kind of nonchalant attitude of, okay, line it up, I'm better than you. And that's kind of the attitude you want. So I think that it wouldn't really have an effect. I don't think Savion cares. Customer service says, are there any boxing matches you are looking forward to this year? Yeah, we have a good weekend coming up this weekend. Tevin Farmer, William Zepeda will be on DAZN. That'll be a good one. And good women's fight on ESPN this weekend too. Michaela Mayer, Sandy Ryan. If you don't watch women's boxing, which I'm assuming a lot of you don't, that would be the one to watch. Customer service says, how many commits do you think we'll have by the season opener? by the season opener. Well, that would be after summer official visit. So, I mean, I'm assuming at that point you're in between the 15 and 20 range and you only have a handful of targets left. All right, those are all the customer service questions. So before we move on to everybody else, and remember, you can just skip the line by leaving a super chat. Hit that dollar symbol in the box and you can leave a super chat and skip the line. Before we move on to everybody else's questions, we do have a message from our sponsor. My Perfect Franchise. Are you a displaced corporate executive or wanting to put your career in your own hands? Or are you an experienced entrepreneur wanting to diversify? Well, Andy Luedecke can help. Andy is a huge college sports fan and franchise veteran, having owned multiple franchises and businesses. Using his expertise, he helps others find their American dream through a very thorough consultation and evaluation process. Call Andy, put your life and career in your own hands. And best of all, his services are 100% free to you. So what do you have to lose? Andy has a great process. You can get him on Zoom. You can visit him at myperfectfranchise.net. You can call him at 404-973-9901. You can email Andy at myperfectfranchise.net. He has so many ways to contact him that there is no excuse. Get in contact with Andy today. Make your dreams come true. Get a franchise. If you get with Andy and you start a franchise, I will visit your franchise. Even if it's a lame franchise like a Dollar Tree, I will still go and pull up to your Dollar Tree and get some discount cat food. But if you get a great franchise like I always use Chick-fil-A, but if you get like a Cane's, I will be there. The nearest Cane's to me is in Chesapeake, and it's like 25 minutes away. I might as well just go visit Travis Johnson at that point. So if you get a Cane's, I will be there. Make your franchise dreams come true with Andy at myperfectfranchise.net. All right, let's continue with Ryan K. He says, when will Jaylen Osborne commit? I don't like that he's sniffing around Notre Dame. He's not set to commit till the summer, but I think Notre Dame made a big move this weekend. I think Notre Dame is now right up there with Michigan. I think they're a legitimate contender to beat out Michigan in this race. I think that I'm trying to find the best way to phrase this. I think that the Savion Hyder cloud hovers over Michigan. And what I mean by that is as much as I would like the Sonic and Knuckles duo, I'm not sure that, that is the most appealing option. So knowing that Michigan is willing to invest NIL in Savion Hyder, not that they wouldn't in Jaylen Osborne. I think that Savion Hyder, he's the nation's number one running back, is just going to command a bit of a different type of NIL package, right? So I think that Savion Hyder and all the buzz he gets with Michigan and the top of the board priority and the NIL dollars, I think that makes a difference. With Notre Dame, I think, if I'm Notre Dame, I'm just selling him on Michigan wants Savion Hyder, come to Notre Dame. And I think that's exactly what they're probably doing. So, yeah, I think it's a delicate one. He is going to make a multi-day visit to Michigan this weekend, so we'll know more after the weekend and where things stand. But Notre Dame, definitely a big threat to Michigan following his first trip to South Bend. Ben Rickett says, who could you see as a potential commit that visited last weekend or this upcoming weekend? I have a prediction in for Matt Ludwig. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, I feel very confident in that prediction. I think they get the deal done with the on 300 tight end out of Montana. Ben Rickett says, who do you think will be the quarterback in this class? Like I said earlier, it's really tough to say. There aren't a lot of options. The guys that they have offered, Ryder Lyons is a 27. Matt Ponatoski might be an MLB draft pick. Brady Smigel is trending to Washington. So, it might be somebody that they decide to offer during the spring eval period. Customer service back again, even after his 30 in a row question, extravaganza. He couldn't stop asking questions. Are there any under the radar recruits that you have seen that may not be on Michigan's radar yet? If so, who and why? I think Michigan does a good job of, scouring for guys across the country. When you're a national program, you have to obviously recruit like one and get into, every nook and cranny of the country. One guy I wish they would offer is actually here in Virginia, where Michigan obviously has a big presence this cycle, and that's Vladen Sohn. He's originally from Sweden. He plays at the Blue Ridge School, close to where Savion Hyder plays. He's an on 300 defensive lineman. Michigan needs a nose this cycle. Sohn is 6'4", 320 pounds. He is absolutely massive, and Michigan has connections here. He's part of the PPI recruiting organization, which has produced guys like Manuel Beagle and Emerick Kumba. So they have a good relationship with the founder of that organization, Brandon Collier. And so now being in Virginia, I mean, it just makes a lot of sense for them to recruit him. And he's shown that he's not just, a Euro project. Like, he's a legit guy. He has offers from LSU, Auburn, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Florida, etc. So, I mean, I think he's the guy that Michigan is probably missing the boat on. Customer service says, who is the most impressive 26 recruit you've seen that Michigan isn't pursuing? I mean, I really like Emmanuel Iheanacho, the 5-star offensive lineman from Georgetown Prep. I got to see him play live. Michigan offered, and then, they didn't really pursue. They've instead gone all in on Jackson Cantwell, and I wouldn't be surprised if Iheanacho ends up being better than Cantwell. Customer service says, who are the 5 recruits Michigan isn't recruiting that Michigan should recruit? Like I said, they do a good job of casting a wide net. I think Sohn is the one that really comes to mind. Customer service says, if there was an EJ recruiting service ranking, who would be the top 5 recruits? Also, would Manny be higher than Cantwell? Would Oscar be higher than Ojo? Where would Gatlin Bear rank in the 26 class? I don't know where Gatlin Bear would rank. It's tough to rank guys that are coming off missions. And, as far as who I think the top 5 players in the country are, I would probably go with Iheanacho. This is in no order. Iheanacho, Felix Ojo, Tristan Keys, Faison Brandon would probably be my top quarterback. And Zion Ely, maybe. The Savion Hyder would be right there. Braden Arrington would be right there. Even Ryder Lyons would be right there too. Mark Bowman would be up there. Those are the guys probably. I have Cantwell as like a back end 5-star. Customer service says Cantwell looked so much bigger than Babalola. Who was more athletic at the same stage? I heard Babalola's feet were superior to Cantwell's. Is Cantwell's feet as good as Babalola's? Yeah, Cantwell is taller. Probably has a little more weight on his frame too. Babalola was a better athlete and definitely had better feet. Babalola had a great basketball background. He's a dancing bear out there. Cantwell, for having the background that he does with 2 parents that are Olympians, the feet are still not at an elite level, which is why I have him as a back end 5-star. Like, the reason I have Iheanacho and Ojo ranked higher, and granted, it is tough to evaluate offensive linemen. That is a very hit or miss position. So, I mean, I always prefer the guys that just naturally are gifted with their feet and athleticism. And you would expect Cantwell, with his background, to be better in that department. So, yeah, I would say Babalola has the better feet and athleticism. Customer service says, does Oscar Rios have an interest in Michigan? He does, but I think he's a guy they want to see throw more during the spring eval period. All right, guys, it looks like we've gone past 30 minutes, and customer service basically took up all those 30 minutes. So, sorry to everyone else. But we will do some rapid fire and try to go quickly here. John H. Schultz says, EJ, please list 3 recruits from the last couple of cycles that you think Michigan would have landed if their NIL was as healthy as it is now. Marquise Davis, perhaps. Yeah, Marquise Davis comes to mind. Maybe even Dante Moore. Obviously they went all in on Bryce Underwood and landed him. But had their NIL been in a row and they, had a demand to go after the best quarterback, I think they would have put together maybe a similar package for Dante Moore. The big one that comes to mind, and the missing piece that I would have really wanted them to land, everybody knows how much I love Dante, but you have Bryce Underwood now, so really doesn't matter too much. The guy that I think, or the position that they still haven't filled, is nose, right? They don't have the next Kenneth Grant on the roster, in my opinion. So Justin Scott would have been it. He was from Chicago. He had Michigan in his top group. At one point, for a very brief second, it looked like Michigan was in the lead. And then he ended up at Miami. Obviously, that one was very NIL heavy. So Justin Scott would be the one that, I feel like they would have gone all in for. Customer service says, is Tristan Keys still visiting Michigan despite his commitment, or is his commitment completely closed? Like I said, I think I don't know if he'll visit Michigan in April like he planned, but I do think he'll keep it open the rest of the cycle. John A. Scholl just putting the hammer down and says, damn customer service. How about letting some other people get questions in? And customer service responds that he waited 3 hours. So shout out to customer service. He says, this is the best show in the business. Blame it on EJ. Tell him not to be this good. Just joking, EJ. Keep up that great work. Well, we appreciate you, customer service, but you probably should let some other people get some questions in. But in any case, he's back with another question. And he says, how many wide receivers do you think Michigan will get? And who do you see in the class? I think they'll take upwards of 4. They'll continue to make, or have NIL discussions, at least with Russell and Henry and Keys. But as far as realistic targets, I mean, Travis Johnson obviously would be right up there. Nolan Scott, I could see in the class. Obviously, they have Jaylen Pile committed. They'd love to get CJ Sadler. Christian Ward is another one who's very high on Michigan. If they push for him, I could see him in the class. So those are definitely some names to know. Tyson Smith says, how did the Cantwell visit go? Like I said earlier, I think the visit went really well. I think Michigan checked a lot of boxes, but it's really just going to come down to NIL discussions, especially with him, having super agent Drew Rosenhaus. Tyson Smith says, why is Jaylen Pile ranked so low? I think he's ranked pretty low across the board. Like, it's not an on-3 thing. Like, he's ranked, as a 3-star on On3. He's ranked as a 3-star on 24/7. I don't have his profile in front of me, so don't quote me on this, but I don't think that ESPN has him ranked, which they do not, as you can see there. And then Rivals is the outlier, having him ranked in the top 250. I think with Jaylen Pile, he kind of fits the mold of receivers that Michigan has landed here recently that have been in that low 4-star, high 3-star, even mid 3-star range. That would be guys like Samaj Morgan, Marion Stewart, Shannon Goodwin, really good players that can get open and move the chains and be a security blanket and, be a guy that's reliable, short to intermediate. Jaylen Pile's a very good football player. He's also a 2-way player that starts in the secondary. But I think Cody Belair, our On3 rankings assistant, put it the best. It's not so much about Jaylen Pile, the football player. He's a very good football player. It's more about Jaylen Pile, the athlete. Can he stretch the field? Can he get vertical? Can he create separation with more than just tactical route running, which he may not be able to do at the next level? Those are probably the question marks. How explosive is he? He ran, I think, in the 11.9s last year, which again was just one track meet, but still, we want to see him running a much better time than that. So those are the reasons why Jaylen Pile is probably ranked a little lower right now. But I think he's had a really good offseason. But I think we kind of have an idea of who Jaylen Pile is. Can he take the next step and be a different type of player? Can he be more explosive? Can he stretch the field? Can he create separation? Those are things that we're looking for, I guess. Tyson Smith says, did you listen to Bully V1? Yes, it was actually very good. Kanye even he was singing in Spanish, which I appreciated. And Peso Pluma is supposed to be on the final version. So I am excited. Ryan K says, what's the latest vibes around Dakota Warren? Not worried about Ohio State. They don't like to pay up front for recruits, but Oregon scares me to death in this one. If NIL becomes a factor, I think that Oregon, is definitely one to watch. I wouldn't rule out Ohio State. Elite wide receivers like Ohio State. But I really like where Michigan stands. I mean, he's visiting 4 times. His dad gave Ethan that great quote where he said it's Michigan. It's not Michigan State. It's not Indiana. It's Michigan, which went viral yesterday, which I thought was funny. But yeah, I mean, he has so many connections to the program. I think, and his cousin's Jacob Oden, he's been to campus a million times. Like, if Michigan just shows improvement and he sees what he wants to see from Chip Lindsey's offense, knowing that Bryce Underwood is on the roster, I think Michigan can very well land Dakota Warren next cycle. Yes, Butter XO. We did have customer service ask 20 questions in a row. There are so many more questions left. Like, geez, man. So again, we'll try to move quickly here. Butter XO says, who are the top 3 quarterback targets for Michigan in the 2027 class? And EJ, who do you think Michigan should be? Who do you think should be the top 3 quarterbacks in the 2027 class that Michigan should be recruiting? I think it's too early to put them in order, but Ryder Lyons is definitely the guy. I mean, I wouldn't consider him a 26 because he won't be on campus until 2027. Like, he's really just a 27 recruit. We actually had this discussion at OT7 just among, different reporters in the On3 network. And, our rankings assistant, Cody Belair, was there as well. And just, these guys that are going on missions, whether it's Ryder Lyons or Brock Harris, like, it just makes sense to put them in the 27 class. But Ryder Lyons is the clear, top guy, 26 or 27, I guess. In terms of who I think are the top 3 2027 quarterbacks on Michigan's board, I did a power ranking the 27 quarterbacks over at the Wolverine, so you can catch that full list over there. But I believe I definitely had Ryder Lyons 1. I believe I had Peter Bork 2 and Keegan Croucher 3. And Bork and Croucher were just on campus. I like those types of quarterbacks. They're like Brady Hart. Like, they're tall, athletic pocket passers. They're not necessarily guys that are going to kill you with their legs, but they can move around. They're very efficient, short to intermediate, very accurate. They can spin the ball. They can get it deep. Those types of quarterbacks just have really high floors. And, if you're tall and you're athletic enough to move around the pocket, that already just checks a lot of boxes for me. So those would be the guys that I like the most. I think the most exciting 27 quarterback on the board is Kavian Bryant. His film is a lot of fun. He's a true dual threat guy, super explosive. Butter XO says, EJ, who do you consider the pound for pound best boxer in the world? And glad everybody's taking a interest in boxing. I would recommend. Alexander Usyk is the best pound for pound boxer. He is the current undisputed. Actually, I think he just got stripped. So he's the current unified. Because Dubois holds the IBF. So he's the current unified heavyweight champion of the world. He was the undisputed champion at one point recently, undisputed cruiserweight champion as well. Naoya Inoue would be next on my list. And then, those would be the top two for me. Dimitri Bivol would be three. David, do you see any similarities with Peter Bork and JJ? In the sense that Peter's looks to be, I haven't seen Peter in person yet, but that will happen here soon. But I think they're similar in the sense that Peter is very accurate and very, just very decisive. Like he makes reads very quickly. He's very accurate in the middle of the field between the hashes. That's something that JJ did very well as a senior at IMG and obviously at Michigan. Just has a really good command of the offense and is athletic enough, maybe not quite the runner that JJ was as a high schooler, but athletic enough to obviously navigate the pocket and extend plays and make really good throws on the run as well. Thoughts on Joey O'Brien, Chase Calicut, and Jet Washington? How would you rank them, and who would we realistically land? Jet Washington would be 1, Calicut would be 2, O'Brien would be 3. I don't get it with Calicut, man. He should be ranked higher than he is. I think On3 dropped him out of the top 300. Like I just don't see that at all. I really like Calicut. But Jet, I think, is in that elite level. Jet told me he's probably not going to make it this spring, but is looking at an OV. Calicut was just on campus and told me he has Michigan in his top 2, along with Texas. Texas is the heavy favorite. They'll both get him in for OVs late June. Joey O'Brien's trending away. I think he'll end up at Notre Dame. Customer service says, do you think someone will commit in the next couple of weeks? With the amount of visitors they're getting in, I think it's only a matter of time before someone pulls the trigger. Customer service says, will we keep Brody Jennings in the class? That's a tough one. Obviously, we're monitoring Georgia and Miami and Florida State, Alabama. There's obviously a lot of contenders here, and, it could be a Chris Ewald situation. The good news is he is set to make a visit the week of April 15th, and he is coming back for an OV on June 20th. So we'll see. Zachary Pizot says, any updates on Calvin Russell? Nothing really. I think that one's going to be more NIL. It's going to be kind of a separate deal. Like I said, his mom is a Miami alum. And not only that, she was like a big time basketball player there. And obviously he's a Florida guy. So I think Miami's going to be tough to beat there. Enlay Wu says, who's a better prospect, Ryder Lyons or JJ? I think JJ was a more complete player. I think that Ryder has even a little bit more athleticism than JJ. He's a little more filled out than JJ, but I think JJ, a similar arm talent to JJ as well, but I think JJ was just so good in the middle of the field, just being accurate, and Ryder's just not there yet. He's not at that level of processing yet. Enlay Wu says, how good is Tristan Keys from your evaluation? How's he compared to Chris Henry and Jeremiah Smith? I think Tristan Keys is up there. He's, a big bodied guy. He has a great catch radius, does a great job of catching the ball away from his body, just looks the part of a college level receiver already. I'd probably have, I don't even know if I mentioned Chris Henry in the, when someone asked me to rank the top guys in the country, but I would probably have Chris Henry 1 and Tristan Keys 2 as far as receivers. I think Henry has a little bit more upside, and I like his just his long limbs and height a lot. With Tristan Keys, The concern with him is just how fast is he? I don't know. Like, I didn't see elite speed out of him, but he did everything else at a very high level. And I think Jeremiah Smith was just at a different level than both. David says, would you say Michigan is currently a top 3 school for Kreul? That's a tough one, man. I would just bulk on the question because he's taking the process so slow. Like, he has so many other visits coming up. He has Miami, Florida, Georgia, Texas. There were a couple other schools. I talked to his agent yesterday for like 20 minutes, and there were like a long list of schools. He hasn't set OVs yet. He's not doing that till May. So I would just say Michigan's definitely in the mix for an official visit, and he had some really good things to say after the trip. John A. Schultz says, EJ, did you watch the entire 2.5 hour Rider Lions documentary? I got enough Rider Lions in Dallas. So I did not watch the entire 2.5 hour documentary. I will say that I watched the first like 15, maybe 20 minutes. At some point, whenever he started to like go play the piano, I was like, okay, I have other things to do than to watch this Rider Lions documentary. No offense to Ryder, I like him, but I don't know if I have 2.5 hours to dedicate to watch an all-out documentary on Rider Lions. Maybe I will if things progress more and I have more time. But yeah, that's just too long of a documentary. Enlay Wu says, what 2026 highly touted prospects that are not heavy NIL recruitments like Babalola last cycle? I would say Carter Meadows would be the guy that is most like Babalola in the sense that he will command a decently high NIL package, but it won't be a true bidding war like Canwell. Meadows is also a very high academic kid like Babalola. The dude's a 5-star. He just made a visit to Northwestern. So he does take academics seriously. He has a 3.95 GPA, which is extremely impressive considering he goes to Gonzaga, which is one of the premier academic high schools in the country. I mean, he'd probably have a 4.0 or perfect GPA at any other, rando high school, but he goes to Gonzaga, which is extremely rigorous. So the fact that he carries that, I think, speaks volumes. So, he would be the most Babalola type of guy. Also very quiet kid. I think Michigan and Penn State are the 2 schools that are right up there for him early on, but he's taking his time with the process as well. Enlay Wu says, who was the most impressive prospect you saw on your OT7 trip? Tristan Keys definitely stood out. It was great to see Rider Lions for the first time in person. I think he flashed a lot of upside and just athletic ability. I would say that Chase Calicut is a guy who just continues to move the needle for me on the 7-on-7 circuit. When you're that big and long and can play corner and safety and just really excel like that, there's a lot there to like about Chase Calicut. Enlay Wu says, what prospects have you seen live that right away he'll be a dude in the future and then live up to the hype later? Junior Colson, the first time I saw him, I was like, all right. Linebacker isn't necessarily a position I like to evaluate. But Junior, you could just tell. I mean, the dude was so big, so fast, like it's so instinctual and, relatively new to football, being a guy that was, adopted from Haiti. Like you could tell right away. Junior was my highest ranked recruit in that class. Actually, I had him ranked higher than JJ and Donovan. So Junior was one, and then Kenneth Grant, obviously. Like I went out to see Kenneth Grant. I remember like he didn't have any stars. He didn't have any profile picture. There was no accurate like height and weight. So I had no idea what to expect. In fact, I only saw Kenneth Grant because he was on the way back from a 7-on-7 tournament where I went to see Will Johnson. And I hit up Kenneth Grant and I said, hey, Merrillville is actually on my drive into Chicago because the 7-on-7 was in Detroit. And I was like, you around, I'll just stop by and see you, if you're by your high school or something, I can get some photos of you. And this dude, he gets out of like a sedan that his mom was driving. And it's just this massive human. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy's like, I'm 6'1" and he was making me look tiny. And yeah, I mean, I took some photos of Kenneth, and then I was like, okay, I like this guy. And he was just fun personality too. And I was like, I will come back and see you when you actually have pads on. And I come back and I see him and he has pads on, and like, I mean, it was he is one of the most fun recruits I've seen during my like decade long time of doing this. I wish I could cover Kenneth Grant every cycle. I miss Kenny G, man. Like I miss Kenny G. Customer service says, I believe Yoder said that Ellison made a long time NIL commitment to Michigan. Is there any truth in that? Honestly, I really don't know if he's made a long-term commitment. I'm assuming as long as he's alive and married to Jaylen that he would continue to donate. If my wife tells me to do something, I'll probably do it. And so if she's telling him to do something, he will probably do it. Tyler says, EJ, will Michigan be aggressive NIL-wise at linebacker this cycle? Feels like they had to land an elite linebacker soon, considering the room could be thin after Hausman and Barham leave. I don't think they'll spend on linebacker. It's not really a position where you have to spend big money either, and they've had success out of the portal. I mean, the guys you just mentioned, Hausman, Barham, weren't even recruits. They were portal guys, so I don't think so. Aiden Sidoti says, EJ, I'm your biggest fan. Shout out to you, Aiden, who has endured the long line of customer service questions. Our producer's laughing in the background. And Aiden says, when does the $1 subs come back? I'm glad you asked. We actually have a special promo code just for you here on our YouTube channel. Use the promo code UM1. It's $1 for 2 months over at thewolverine.com. So you can use that promo code and get exclusive insider information on everything recruiting. Michelle Wallace says customer service should give you some money for your travel budget. We should probably next time we do this, we should probably put a cap on customer services questions. Like he can only ask 5 because the people are dissing customer service today. Aiden's not happy here, and neither was Michelle. Aiden says, when does Zayden Krempin commit to Texas? I still think Michigan can land Zayden Krempin. I think it's a really tight battle. Distance. I actually wouldn't be surprised if Michigan leads there. But distance, yes, still a factor. It's something that Michigan still has to overcome. John Lynch says, hey, EJ, I wanted to ask about 2027 tight end prospect Hugh Janis out of Keystone, South Dakota. Heard Michigan has some interest in him. Well, Michigan loves the Dakotas and Idaho and Montana. So, yeah, I mean, Steve Kasula was out there during the winter contact period. I'm sure they'll continue to evaluate him. Well, apparently we had a crying Ryan Day guy here making comments, but he was removed. Ben Ricketts says, does Michigan have better odds at landing Meadows or Cantwell? Either or. I think, with Meadows, he, like I said, probably is more Andrew Babalola-esque. I think, that one will be a little bit more of a fair recruitment in the sense that it won't be a bidding war. But I think they are, on the flip side of the coin, I think they're willing to spend on Jackson Cantwell. And when Michigan's willing to spend and you have Larry Ellison as a backer, it usually equates to positive things. I think that's it. I think that we have gotten through all the questions. So I appreciate you guys. Producer Megan, I cannot get this question off. It just keeps popping up. But anyway, I appreciate you guys for enduring the customer service show. And we appreciate you too, customer service. But I think, it was a little much there. But make sure to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel for free, get even more information over at thewolverine.com. And remember to make your franchise dreams come true. And you can deal with customer service all day long. If you own a franchise, you definitely need customer service in your life. So make sure to hit up Andy Luedecke, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday.